The town of Crescent Hollow, Louisiana, lay cradled in the arms of the bayou, where cypress trees draped with Spanish moss stood sentinel over murky waters. The air was thick with the scent of mud and magnolias, and the nights carried whispers of voodoo and vanished souls. At the center of the town square, where dirt roads met sagging clapboard shops, rose the Crescent Clock, a wrought-iron tower crowned with a cracked bell. Its hands had been frozen at 2 o'clock since Hurricane Celeste tore through in 1999, shattering its gears and leaving it a relic. Locals called it the Bayou Bell, claiming its silence hid curses, and that any chime after dark was the cry of the restless dead. On this humid November night, the bell would ring again, and Crescent Hollow's darkest secret would claw its way to the surface. Detective Amara Dubois, a 38-year-old Creole woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind, walked the square under a sickle moon, her boots sinking slightly into the damp earth. Her canine partner, Titan, a 4-year-old German shepherd, padded beside her, his ears swiveling at the chorus of bullfrogs and cicadas. Amara was off duty, her first break in weeks since returning to Crescent Hollow from New Orleans, but the town's stillness gnawed at her. She'd grown up here, running barefoot through the bayou, until her sister, Celeste Dubois, vanished in 1999 at age 17. The loss had driven Amara to the police academy, then to New Orleans, where she'd earned her stripes cracking cases in the French Quarter. But Crescent Hollow had called her back, its unsolved mysteries a weight she couldn't shake. The square was deserted, its gas lamps flickering, casting shadows that danced like spirits. The Crescent Clock loomed ahead, its iron frame tangled with vines, its face a ghostly disk under the moonlight. Amara glanced at her watch. 1:50 a.m. "Time to call it, Titan," she said, her voice soft with the lilt of her Creole roots. But Canine had other plans. As they neared the clock's base, Titan froze, his hackles rising, a deep growl rumbling in his chest. His eyes locked on the tower's rusted door, and he lunged, barking with a ferocity that split the night. Amara tightened his leash, her heart racing. "Titan, what's wrong?" K9's barks were relentless, a trained signal of danger. Titan was a cadaver dog, his nose honed to detect human remains, and his reaction screamed trouble. She knelt, letting K9 sniff the door, her flashlight cutting through the dark. A sour stench hit her, decay, masked by the bayou's earthy tang, but unmistakable. "What the hell's in there?" she muttered, her hand brushing the lock, its metal flaking under her touch. Her radio crackled, Officer Javier Morales' voice breaking through. "Amara, you at the square? Got a call about a dog barking like hell near the clock. That your K9? "Yeah, it's Titan," Amara replied, her eyes on the door. "He's going crazy. I need backup and forensics. Now." "On it," Morales said. 5 minutes. Amara tested the door, its hinges groaning under pressure. Titan's barks grew deafening, his paws clawing at the base, unearthing clumps of mud and moss. She grabbed a crowbar from her truck, parked nearby, and pried at the lock, the iron screeching as it gave way. The door swung open, releasing a blast of stale, fetid air. Her flashlight pierced the chamber within, revealing a cramped space filled with rusted gears, cobwebs, and a dirt floor. At its center, partially buried, was a human skull, its eye socket staring blankly, a cracked locket clutched in skeletal fingers. Amara's breath caught, her mind flashing to Celeste. Her sister had disappeared the night of the hurricane, last seen near the square after a dance at the community hall. The locket's chain glinted, engraved with CD, Celeste Dubois. "No," Amara whispered, her hands trembling as she crouched beside the remains. Titan whined, nudging her arm, but his nose stayed fixed on the dirt, where more bones, a rib cage, a femur, peeked through. Morales arrived with 2 officers, their flashlights sweeping the chamber. "Holy shit," Morales said, gagging at the stench. "Is that human?" Amara nodded, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "Looks like a burial site. Titan found it. I think it's my sister Celeste. Call Dr. Landry." The forensics team descended, turning the square into a crime scene. Dr. Elise Landry, the parish coroner, examined the remains with grim precision. Female, 15 to 20 years old, based on bone development, she said, her gloved hands brushing dirt from the skull. Time of death, roughly 25 years, consistent with the clock's shutdown in '99. There's a skull fracture, blunt force, likely a hammer or pipe. This was murder. Amara bagged the locket, its weight a dagger in her heart. "Any DNA?" "Possible," Landry said. "The bones are well preserved, and the locket might have skin cells. But this chamber's been sealed since the hurricane. Whoever did this thought they'd never be found." Titan barked again, his nose pointed at a corner of the chamber. Amara followed, digging through the dirt to uncover a rusted tin box. Inside was a bloodied rag, a pocket knife with a carved handle, and a key tagged "Storage, LeBlanc's Mill." Her pulse quickened. LeBlanc's Mill, a derelict sawmill on the bayou's edge, had been a hub in 1999, now abandoned but rumored to house voodoo rituals. If Titan's barks had unearthed Celeste, what waited at the mill? At the station, Amara dove into the 1999 case files. Celeste's disappearance had been one of 4 that year. Celeste Dubois, 17, Lena Thibodeau, 19, Marie Fontenot, 16, and Clara Bell, 20. All were young women, all vanished within months, last seen near the square or the mill. The files pointed to a serial killer, dubbed the Bayou Reaper by the local paper, but no suspects were charged. Witnesses mentioned a man with a scarred neck, seen arguing with Celeste at the dance, but he'd vanished. The hurricane had buried the cases, with police claiming the women were swept away in the flood. Amara's hands shook as she read, Titan lying at her feet, his eyes fixed on the locket. "You found her, Titan," she said, scratching Canine's ears. "Now we find who did this." She grabbed the key, clipped Titan's leash, and headed for the mill. The bayou was restless, and the Crescent Clock's chime was only the beginning. The mill was a skeleton of rotting wood and rusted metal, its silhouette stark against the moonlit swamp. Amara parked a quarter-mile away, approaching on foot with Titan, the air thick with the croak of frogs and the buzz of mosquitoes. Canine's nose led to a padlocked storage shed behind the mill, his barks slicing through the night. Amara pried it open, revealing crates of old tools, burlap sacks, and a trap door beneath a tarp. The key fit perfectly, unlocking a ladder to a basement. Her flashlight illuminated a chilling scene. A concrete room, its walls stained with faded blood, a wooden table bolted to the floor, and rusted shackles hanging from hooks. A pile of clothes, faded dresses, a beaded bracelet, lay in a corner, some matching Celeste's last outfit. Titan sniffed the floor, unearthing a small diary, its pages brittle but legible. The handwriting was Celeste's, detailing her fear of a man named Remy, who'd followed her from the dance, promising work at the mill. The final entry read, "He's coming. 2 a.m. I hear the bell." Amara's blood ran cold. Remy LeBlanc, the mill's owner in 1999, had a scarred neck from a logging accident. He died in 2005, but his son, Gabriel LeBlanc, still lived in Crescent Hollow, a recluse who ran a bait shop. Was Gabriel covering for his father, or was he the Reaper's heir? Back at the station, Amara cross-referenced the diary with property records. The mill was still owned by the LeBlanc family, and Gabriel had inherited it. His financials showed odd payments to a shell company, Bayou Holdings, starting in 1999. Titan's barks had opened a grave, but the diary and key pointed to a living killer. As 2 a.m. loomed, Amara felt the Bayou's eyes on her. The Crescent Clock's chime a call to justice, or a warning of what lay ahead. The Bayou exhaled its secrets in whispers, a humid shroud over Crescent Hollow that clung to skin and soul alike. Dawn broke over the town square, painting the Crescent Clock's iron spire in hues of rust and gold, but the air remained heavy with the weight of death. Detective Amara Dubois stood outside the Crescent Hollow police station, her fingers tracing the outline of the locket in her pocket. Engraved CD, Celeste Dubois, her sister, whose remains Canine Titan had unearthed in the clock's forgotten chamber. The discovery had shattered Amara's world, confirming that Celeste, missing since the hurricane of 1999, hadn't been swept away, but murdered, her killer hidden in plain sight for 25 years. Titan, the 4-year-old German shepherd, lay at her feet, his amber eyes scanning the street, ears twitching at the distant croak of a heron. The bloodied rag, pocket knife, and key tagged storage, LeBlanc's mill, found alongside Celeste's bones, were threads in a tapestry of horror, and Amara was determined to unravel it. Inside the station, the hum of fluorescent lights and the clatter of keyboards filled the bullpen. Officers darted between desks, fielding calls from townsfolk, rattled by the clock's impossible 2 a.m. chime and the grim news of a body. Amara's desk was a battlefield of evidence. The locket, the key, Celeste's diary naming Remy as her stalker, and faded files on the Bayou Reaper, a serial killer linked to 4 vanishings in 1999. Celeste Dubois, Lena Thibodeau, Marie Fontenot, and Clara Bell. Each file was a wound, detailing young women last seen near the square or LeBlanc's mill, their cases buried under the chaos of Hurricane Celeste. Amara's gaze lingered on a photo of her sister, 17, laughing at a crawfish boil, her eyes bright with dreams that never came true. Titan nudged her hand, a low whine pulling her from the past. "You're right, boy," she said, scratching his ears. "No time for ghosts. We're going to the mill." K9's tail flicked, his body taut with purpose. The key's tag pointed to LeBlanc's mill, a derelict sawmill on the bayou's edge, once owned by Remy LeBlanc, a man with a scarred neck who died in 2005. His son, Gabriel LeBlanc, now ran a bait shop, a quiet figure who kept to the shadows. Celeste's diary had ended with fear of Remy, but Gabriel's inheritance of the mill raised questions. Was he a witness, a cover-up, or something worse? Officer Javier Morales, a lean deputy with a knack for diffusing tension, approached her desk. "Amara, you sure you want to hit the mill alone? That place is cursed if you believe the old folks, and Gabriel's got a temper." "Then he'll meet Titans," Amara said, her voice edged with steel. She clipped K9's leash, her mind racing. "Javier, get me Dr. Landry's forensics report on the locket and bones, and pull Gabriel's financials. Every transaction since '99. Morales hesitated, his brow creasing. "You think Gabriel's tied to this? He was just a kid back then." "Kids grow up," Amara said, her eyes narrowing. "And secrets don't die. Keep an eye on the chatter in town. Someone knows something." The drive to LeBlanc's mill was a plunge into the bayou's heart, where the road narrowed to a ribbon of gravel flanked by cypress trees and black water. The sun hung low, its light fractured by moss-draped branches, casting the mill in a haze of green and gold. The structure loomed like a corpse, its timber walls sagging, its smokestack a broken spine against the sky. Amara parked a quarter-mile out, opting for stealth, and approached on foot with Titan. K9's nose twitched, his body low, as the air grew thick with the stench of rot and oil. The storage shed from the previous night stood behind the mill, its padlock still broken from Amara's crowbar. Titan's barks had led them to a basement then, a blood-stained kill room with shackles and Celeste's diary. But instinct told her there was more. She re-entered the shed, Titan at her heels, and descended the ladder to the basement. The concrete walls seemed to pulse with memory, the shackles glinting faintly under her flashlight. Titan's growls deepened, his nose zeroing in on a stack of crates in the far corner, their wood splintered and caked with mud. "Got something, boy?" Amara asked, shoving the crates aside. Beneath them was a second trapdoor, its iron surface etched with scratches, as if clawed by desperate hands. The key from the clock chamber fit the lock, and the door groaned open, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. The air that rushed up was colder, sharper, laced with the unmistakable tang of death. Amara's pulse quickened, her hand resting on her Glock. "Stay close, Titan." The staircase led to a cavernous chamber, its walls carved from the bayou's clay, reinforced with rusted steel beams. Her flashlight swept the space, illuminating a nightmare. 3 skeletal remains, each slumped against the wall, lockets dangling from their necks. The initials LTMFCB matched Lena Thibodeau, Marie Fontenot, and Clara Bell. Amara's throat tightened, her mind flashing to the case files. Lena, a seamstress. Marie, a choir singer. Clara, a fisherman's daughter. All young, all gone in 1999, now found by Titan's relentless nose. K9's barks grew frantic, his paws digging at a metal box buried in the dirt. Amara pried it open, revealing a bloodied hammer, its handle carved with RL, Remy LeBlanc. A ledger inside listed chilling entries. September 15th, 99. CD, secured. October 2nd, 99. LT, processed. November 10th, 99. MF, completed. December 1st, 99. CB, disposed. The handwriting was precise, clinical, a stark contrast to Celeste's frantic diary. A folded map, yellowed with age, marked a bayou island with a single word: ritual. Amara's blood ran cold. Was this a killing ground or something darker? A voodoo sacrifice tied to the town's whispered cults? She radioed Morales. "Javier, we've got 3 more bodies in a hidden chamber at the mill. Lena, Marie, Clara. Send forensics and a SWAT team. And put an APB on Gabriel LeBlanc. He's our lead." "3 more?" Morales' voice cracked. "Amara, this is bigger than we thought. I'll get the team, but Gabriel was seen at his shop an hour ago. Be careful." Amara bagged the hammer, ledger, and map, but Titan's barks shifted to a low growl, his eyes fixed on the staircase. Footsteps echoed above, heavy and deliberate. She doused her flashlight, drawing her Glock, and whispered, "Titan, quiet." K9 crouched, his body coiled as a shadow crossed the trapdoor's frame. A man's voice, low and raspy, muttered, "She's here. Get the hammer." Amara's heart pounded. She signaled Titan to stay, then crept up the stairs, her gun raised. The shed was empty, but the door swung open, revealing a figure sprinting toward the bayou. A tall man, his neck scarred, wearing a bait shop cap. Gabriel LeBlanc. "Freeze!" Amara shouted, firing a warning shot. Gabriel ducked behind a cypress, vanishing into the reeds. Titan surged past, his bark slicing the air, and Amara gave chase. The bayou was a maze of roots and water, the ground sucking at her boots. Titan's nose led them to a dock where a skiff bobbed, its motor still warm. Gabriel had fled, but Titan's barks zeroed in on a cooler tucked under the dock. Amara pried it open, finding a bloodied hammer, identical to the one in the chamber, but fresher, its handle slick with recent use. A note inside scrawled in red ink. Read, "The chime calls, 2 a.m." Back at the mill, forensics swarmed the chamber, Dr. Elise Landry confirming the remains as Lena, Marie, and Clara, each killed by blunt force trauma. "The hammer's consistent with the wounds," Landry said, her face grim. "But the lockets, they're ritualistic, like offerings. You need to talk to Mama Lisette." Mama Lisette, the town's voodoo mambo, lived in a shack deep in the bayou, her name whispered in fear and reverence. Amara drove there with Titan, the skiff's note burning in her mind. Lisette, a wiry woman with silver braids, greeted them with a knowing smile. "The bayou speaks, child," she said, her eyes on Titan. "Your Canine hears it too." Amara showed her the map. "This island? What's there?" Lisette's smile faded. "Remy LeBlanc came to me in '99, begging a curse to hide his sins. Said he owed a debt to the Eloa, paid in blood. That island's their altar, but he wasn't alone. Another man, a priest, blessed the killings." "A priest?" Amara's mind raced. Father Julian Thibodeau, the town's pastor in 1999, had counseled the victims' families. Was he Remy's partner? Lisette handed her a voodoo charm, a bone bead etched with a spiral. "Take this for protection. The Loa don't forgive." Back at the station, Amara's suspicions grew. Morales approached, his face ashen. "Amara, I checked the evidence log. Someone swapped the locket's tag, listed it as unidentified. I traced the change to my login, but I didn't do it." Amara's blood chilled. A mole in the department. Who had access? "Only me and Deputy Fontenot," Morales said, his voice low. Fontenot, Marie's cousin, had been vocal about closing the Reaper case. Was he protecting Gabriel or someone higher? Before Amara could act, a call came. The mill was on fire. She raced there with Titan, finding the storage shed engulfed, flames licking the sky. Firefighters battled the blaze, but Titan's barks led to a singed crate outside, containing a burned photo of Remy and Father Julian, their arms around a third man. Initials MV scratched on the back. The hammer from the chamber was gone, stolen in the chaos. Amara confronted Fontenot at the scene, his eyes avoiding hers. "You tampered with evidence," she said, her voice ice. "Why?" Fontenot's shoulders slumped. "Gabriel paid me. Said it was to protect the town. My family's broke, Amara. I didn't know about the bodies." "You're done," Amara said, cuffing him. But Fontenot's words echoed. "Gabriel's not the Reaper. Ask Julian. He knows." As 2 a.m. neared, Amara stood by the bayou, Titan's barks a steady rhythm. The island loomed in her mind, its altar a key to the Reaper's truth. But the fire, the mole, and the photo told her the killer's shadow stretched beyond Gabriel. The Crescent Clock had rung for Celeste, and now it called for justice, or vengeance. The bayou was a living thing, its pulse a chorus of croaking frogs and rustling reeds, its breath a humid veil that wrapped Crescent Hollow in mystery. The town square, now a shrine of police tape and whispered fears, bore the weight of the Crescent Clock's impossible chime, a 2 a.m. toll that had shattered the silence of 25 years and unearthed a grave. Detective Amara Dubois stood on the station's steps, the morning sun glinting off her badge, her fingers clutching the voodoo charm Mama Lisette had given her, a bone bead etched with a spiral, warm against her palm. the discovery of her sister Celeste's remains in the clock, followed by 3 more victims: Lena Thibodeau, Marie Fontenot, and Clara Bell, in a hidden chamber at LeBlanc's mill, had torn open Crescent Hollow's past. Canine Titan, her 4-year-old German shepherd, sat alert at her side, his amber eyes scanning the horizon, as if the bayou itself held answers. The station buzzed with tension, officers grappling with a town on edge. The Bayou Reaper, a phantom blamed for the 1999 vanishings, was no longer a myth, but a flesh-and-blood killer whose trail Amara was determined to follow. The bloodied hammer, ledger, and map from the mill's chamber pointed to a ritual island deep in the bayou, while Gabriel LeBlanc, son of the suspected killer Remy LeBlanc, had fled after a chase. Deputy Fontenot, exposed as a mole, sat in a holding cell, his confession implicating Gabriel and Father Julien Thibodeau, the town's former priest. A burned photo, marked with MV, hinted at a third conspirator, a shadow still lurking. Amara's grief for Celeste fueled her, but the charm in her hand and Mama Lisette's warning, "The Loa don't forgive," stirred a flicker of doubt. Was this justice or a dance with darker forces? Amara knelt beside Titan, scratching his ears. "You found them, boy. Now we find the island." K9's tail flicked, his nose twitching with purpose. The map, creased and brittle, marked a spot 2 miles upriver, accessible only by boat. She grabbed her gear, Glock, flashlight, evidence kit, and headed for the station's dock, where a police skiff waited. Officer Javier Morales caught her arm, his face etched with worry. "Amara, you're not going alone, are you? That island's bad juju. Folks say it's cursed." "Then it's the perfect place for answers," Amara said, her voice steady. "Javier, get me Julian's records. Every sermon, every trip in '99, and keep Fontenot talking. I want names." Morales nodded, but his eyes lingered. "Gabriel's in the wind, and now Julian? This is bigger than Crescent Hollow, Amara. Watch your 6. The skiff cut through the bayou's black water. Titan perched at the bow, his nose high, barks echoing over the drone of the motor. Cypress trees loomed like sentinels, their roots clawing the surface, draped in Spanish moss that swayed like ghostly veils. The air grew heavier as Amara neared the island, a low hump of mud and reeds, its center crowned with a gnarled oak. She tied the skiff to a root, her boots sinking into the mire, and followed Titan's lead, K9's barks guiding her through a tangle of vines to a clearing. The clearing was a voodoo altar, its earth packed hard, ringed with stones painted red and white. At its center stood a wooden cross, draped with beads and feathers, surrounded by offerings, candles, rum bottles, and jars of what looked like hair and nails. Titan's barks sharpened, his nose locked on a shack at the clearing's edge, its walls cobbled from driftwood and tin. Amara approached, her Glock drawn, the charm pulsing in her pocket. The door creaked open, revealing a shrine, a table draped in black cloth, holding a bloodied knife engraved with JT, Julien Thibodeau, and 4 lockets, their initials matching the victims. A journal, its pages stained, lay open, its script frantic. Remy delivers, but Julien commands. The Loa demand blood. The island cleanses. Amara's stomach churned. Julien wasn't just complicit. He was the architect, using voodoo to mask murder. Titan's bark shifted, leading her to a crate behind the shrine, filled with photos of the victims. Celeste laughing, Lena sewing, Marie singing, Clara fishing, all taken days before their deaths. A ledger listed payments to Bayou Holdings, the same shell company from Gabriel's financials, wired to accounts in New Orleans and Haiti. Was Julien running a cult or something worse? Her radio crackled. Amara, it's Morales. Julian's records show he visited New Orleans every month in '99, meeting a brother Michel. And Gabriel's truck was spotted at a warehouse on Chupatula Street. You want backup? Send a unit to the warehouse, Amara said, bagging the journal and knife. I'm on the island. Found a ritual site. Julian's our guy. But there's a third player. Michel, maybe MV. Copy. Be safe, Morales said, his voice tight. Titan's growls deepened, his body tensing as footsteps squelched in the mud outside. Amara doused her flashlight, crouching behind the shrine, signaling Canine to stay. A figure entered. Gabriel LeBlanc, his scarred neck glinting with sweat, a shotgun in hand. I know you're here, Dubois, he rasped, his voice raw. You don't get it. Julian's the devil, not my daddy. Amara stepped out, her Glock aimed. Drop it, Gabriel. You ran. You're hiding something. Gabriel's eyes darted, wild. I was a kid, okay? Julian made Pop do it. Said the LOA needed sacrifices. I saw him kill Lena. I've been running ever since. Then talk, Amara said, her finger steady on the trigger. Titan growled, ready to pounce. Before Gabriel could answer, a shot rang out, grazing Amara's shoulder. She dove behind the shrine, Titan lunging at a second figure, a man in a hooded cloak fleeing into the reeds. Gabriel fired his shotgun, missing, and bolted after him. Amara gave chase, Titan's barks leading through the bayou's maze, but the cloaked man vanished into a skiff, its motor roaring. Gabriel collapsed, clutching a wound from a stray bullet, gasping. Julian, he's in New Orleans. Chupitulas. Amara radioed for medics, stabilizing Gabriel as Titan stood guard. You're not dying yet, she said, her voice fierce. Tell me about Michel. Michel Vasseur, Gabriel coughed. Councilman, he bankrolled Julien. They're still doing it. Medics airlifted Gabriel, and Amara returned to the station, her shoulder bandaged, the journal and knife locked in evidence. Morales met her, his face pale. Amara, the warehouse in New Orleans. NOPD raided it. Found lockets, blood samples, and a voodoo altar. Gabriel's telling the truth. Julian's running a cult. Then we get him, Amara said, her eyes blazing. But the town was turning. Protesters gathered outside, led by Father Julian's loyalists, chanting, "No witch hunts." Signs accused Amara of blasphemy, an outsider defiling Crescent Hollow's faith. She spotted Clarabelle's brother, Thomas, in the crowd, his eyes cold. Was he another mole? That night, Amara sought Mama Lisette, Titan at her side. The Mambo shack glowed with candlelight, the air thick with incense. You found the island, Lisette said, her eyes on the charm. The Loa showed me. Julian twisted their power, used blood to bind his flock. But Vasseur, he's the money, the mask. Amara showed her the journal. How do I stop them? Lisette lit a candle, chanting softly, her hands trembling. The Loa demand truth. Take Titan to the church. Julian's crypt hides his sins. A vision gripped her, her voice hollow. Beware the third man. He wears a councilman's smile. At the church, Titan's barks led to a locked crypt beneath the altar, its door sealed with a voodoo sigil. Amara pried it open, finding a box of victim diaries, Celeste's, Lena's, Marie's, Clara's, each detailing Julian's promises of salvation, followed by terror. A 1999 ledger listed donations to Bayou Holdings, signed by MV, Michel Vasseur. Titan's nose caught a fresher scent, unearthing a burner phone hidden in the crypt. Its last text, Dubois is close, end it, 2 a.m. Amara's blood ran cold. The church was empty, but the town's anger was a noose tightening. She drove to the square, Titan's barks a beacon, only to find her truck ablaze, protesters cheering. Thomas Bell stepped forward, a Molotov cocktail in hand. "You're tearing us apart, Amara," he shouted, but Titan lunged, pinning him, the cocktail shattering harmlessly. As firefighters doused the flames, Titan's barks uncovered a singed ring in the wreckage, Clara's, engraved with CB. "You knew," Amara said, cuffing Thomas. "You protected Julian." "He promised to find Clara," Thomas sobbed. "I didn't know she was dead." The clock struck 2 a.m., its chime echoing over the bayou, impossible yet real. Titan's barks turned frantic, leading Amara to the riverbank, where a fresh grave lay hidden in the reeds. She dug, her hands trembling, unearthing a burlap sack. Inside was a bloodied locket, its initials E.C., Elise Cormier, a girl reported missing last week. The Reaper wasn't just a ghost of 1999. He was alive, and Crescent Hollow was his hunting ground. The bayou held Crescent Hollow in a restless embrace, its dark waters mirroring a sky bruised with storm clouds. The town square, scarred by the ashes of Amara Dubois' burned truck, pulsed with the aftershock of betrayal. Protesters, led by Father Julien Thibodeau's faithful, had turned on her, branding her a heretic for unearthing the Bayou Reaper's sins. Detective Amara Dubois stood in the Crescent Hollow police station, her shoulder stinging from a graze wound, her fingers gripping the voodoo charm from Mama Lisette, a bone bead etched with a spiral, now a talisman against the darkness closing in. Canine Titan, her 4-year-old German shepherd, lay at her feet, his amber eyes fixed on the evidence bag containing Elise Cormier's locket, its EC initials, a chilling reminder that the Reaper wasn't a ghost of 1999, but a living predator. The clock's 2 a.m. chime, impossible yet undeniable, had awakened a 25-year-old nightmare, and Amara was its hunter. The station was a fortress under siege, officers deflecting calls from a town spiraling into fear and fury. The discovery of Celeste Dubois' remains in the Crescent Clock, followed by Lena Thibodeau, Marie Fontenot, and Clara Bell in LeBlanc's mill, had exposed a serial killer's lair. The island altar, uncovered by Titan's barks, revealed Father Julien Thibodeau as the mastermind, twisting voodoo into a cult of blood. Gabriel LeBlanc, wounded and hospitalized, had named Michel Vasseur, a councilman, as Julien's financier, while Deputy Fontenot, now in custody, and Clara's brother Thomas had shielded the truth for profit and grief. Elise Cormier's fresh grave, found in the bayou's reeds, proved the Reaper's hunt continued, and Amara's resolve burned hotter than the flames that consumed her truck. She knelt beside Titan, her voice low. "You found Elise, boy. Now we find Julian." Canine's ears twitched, his body taut with purpose. The journal from the island had pinpointed Julian's trail to New Orleans, a warehouse on Chupatoulas Street, and Amara wasn't waiting for the cult to strike again. She grabbed her gear, Glock, flashlight, the island's knife engraved with JT, and headed for the station's armory, where Officer Javier Morales was loading a tactical vest. "Amara, NOPD's got the warehouse staked out," Morales said, his voice tight. "But Vasseur's at a council meeting, stonewalling us. He's got half the town in his pocket." "Then we cut through," Amara said, clipping Titan's leash. "Javier, get me Vasseur's financials, every wire, every shell company, and watch Fontenot and Thomas. They're talking, but they're scared." Morales nodded, his jaw set. "You're walking into a snake pit, Amara. Julian's got followers in New Orleans. Voodoo types, not just churchgoers. Take backup." "Titan's my backup," she said, her eyes fierce. "Get me those records." The drive to New Orleans was a blur of bayou highways. the city's neon glow, a stark contrast to Crescent Hollow's shadows. Titan sat in the passenger seat, his nose pressed to the window, barks punctuating the hum of the engine. The warehouse on Chupitulas loomed in the industrial district, its corrugated walls rusted, its windows blacked out. Amara parked a block away, meeting NOPD Lieutenant Carla Reyes, a no-nonsense veteran with a scar across her cheek. "Your K9 better be as good as they say," Reyes said, nodding at Titan. "We've got eyes on the warehouse. Julian's inside, with at least 3 others, armed." "He's the best," Amara said, stroking Titan's fur. "We need Julian alive. He's the key." The raid was a calculated strike, NOPD breaching the side doors while Amara and Titan took the rear. K9's barks led through a maze of crates, the air thick with incense and copper. The warehouse's heart was a voodoo temple, black candles flickering, walls painted with vives, a central altar draped in red cloth. Julian stood at its head, his priest's collar discarded, chanting in Creole as 3 hooded figures knelt. Titan's growls erupted, and Amara shouted, "Julian, hands up, you're done!" Julian's eyes gleamed, unyielding. "The Loa chose me, Dubois. You can't stop their will." He drew a knife, lunging, but Titan sprang, pinning him to the floor, teeth bared. The hooded figures scattered, but NOPD secured them, their faces revealed as local drifters, brainwashed by Julian's promises. Amara cuffed Julian, her voice ice. "You killed my sister, Lena, Marie, Clara. And now, Elise. Where is she?" Julian laughed, a hollow sound. "Vaisseur's the puppet master. I was his priest, sanctifying the sacrifices. Elise is alive, for now. Check the Bayou cage, but you'll never touch Michelle." Titan's barks cut through, his nose locked on a trapdoor beneath the altar. Amara pried it open, descending into a damp cellar, where Elise Cormier, 19, lay bound in a wire cage, her eyes wide with terror. "Help me," she whispered, her voice raw. Titan whined, nudging the cage, and Amara cut her free, radioing for medics. Elise clutched Amara's arm, gasping, "Julian, he said the Loa need blood. Every year." Back at the station, Elise's statement painted a grim picture. Julian's cult, the Order of the Crimson Loa, had operated since 1999, selecting sacrifices to appease spirits funded by Vasseur's wealth. Celeste and the others were early victims, but the cult never stopped, targeting runaways and drifters. Amara's blood boiled, but Vasseur's influence was a wall. The councilman, charming and untouchable, held a press conference, decrying the witch hunt against Julian and suspending Amara for reckless conduct. Morales met her in the evidence room, his face grim. "Vasseur's got the mayor spooked. They're pulling your badge unless we get hard proof." "Then we get it," Amara said, her eyes on Titan, who was sniffing a crate from the warehouse. K9's barks zeroed in on a hidden compartment, revealing Vasseur's bank records, millions wired to Bayou Holdings, with notes on ritual expenses. A ledger listed 15 victims since 1999, their lockets cataloged like trophies. Amara drove to Vasseur's bait shop, a front for his empire, Titan at her side. The shop was empty, but K9's barks led to a safe behind a false wall, its lock yielding to a crowbar. Inside was a burner phone, its texts ordering Julian's hits, and a voodoo doll, hair woven with Amara's braid, stolen from her locker. A note read, "Dubois Falls, 2 a.m." The bayou erupted in a storm that night, thunder shaking Crescent Hollow. Amara tracked Julian's last lead, a ritual site on the bayou's edge where he'd planned a cleansing. The skiff raid was chaos, rain blinding, waves tossing. Julian's followers fought back, and Amara's skiff capsized, stranding her in the reeds. Titan's barks guided her to shore, where she found Julian's boat, abandoned, a voodoo doll inside, her name carved in blood. Julian was gone, presumed drowned, but Amara's gut screamed otherwise. Back in town, the clock chimed 2 a.m., its toll a blade through the storm. Titan's barks led to a blood trail near the square, ending at a voodoo charm. A spiral bead, like Lisette's, but soaked in fresh blood. The Reaper's web was unraveling, but Vasseur's smile loomed, and Amara knew the final battle was near. The bayou exhaled a mournful sigh over Crescent Hollow, its dark waters carrying the weight of secrets long buried. The town square, once a battleground of betrayal and fire, now stood quiet under a November moon. The Crescent Clock's iron spire, a silent witness to the horrors it had unveiled. Detective Amara Dubois leaned against the station's doorframe, her breath visible in the cool air, her hand clutching the voodoo charm from Mama Lisette, a bone bead etched with a spiral, now a symbol of her survival. The Bayou Reaper, a specter of 1999, had been unmasked as a living nightmare, its web spun by Father Julien Thibodeau and funded by Councilman Michel Vasseur. Canine Titan, her 4-year-old German shepherd, sat vigilant at her side, his amber eyes glinting, his barks the spark that had ignited justice. The clock's 2 a.m. chime, impossible yet relentless, had called forth Celeste Dubois' grave, and now it demanded an end. The station was a war room, officers poring over evidence from the New Orleans raid, Julian's voodoo temple, Elise Cormier's rescue, and Vasseur's damning bank records. Celeste, Lena Thibodeau, Marie Fontenot, and Clara Bell, killed in 1999, were joined by 15 others, their lockets cataloged in the order of the Crimson Loa's ledgers, a cult that fed on blood and fear. Julian, presumed drowned in the bayou storm, was still at large, his Boop Bay voodoo targeting Amara, a chilling promise of vengeance. Vasseur, the untouchable councilman, had suspended her, but Titan's barks had cracked his empire, revealing millions in Bayou Holdings profits. Deputy Fontenot and Thomas Bell, broken by guilt, were in custody, their confessions peeling back layers of complicity. Elise's survival proved the Reaper's hunger, and Amara's resolve was a blade honed by grief. She knelt beside Titan, her voice steady. "We end this, boy. Vasseur, Julian, they don't get to hide." Canine's tail flicked, his nose twitching with purpose. The burner phone from Vasseur's bait shop had traced to a Baton Rouge office, a front for the cult's finances, and Amara wasn't waiting for Vasseur's next move. She grabbed her gear, Glock, flashlight, the island's knife with JT, and met Officer Javier Morales in the bullpen, where he was pinning Vasseur's financials to a board. "Amara, Baton Rouge PD's ready to move," Morales said, his eyes sharp. "Vasseur's holed up in a penthouse office, but he's got private security, and Julian's been spotted. Bayou fishermen saw him near Blackwater Cove." "Then we split," Amara said, clipping Titan's leash. "I'll hit Baton Rouge with Titan. You take a team to Blackwater. Julian doesn't slip again." Morales hesitated, his voice low. "Vasseur's calling you a rogue, Amara. If this goes south, the council will bury you." "Let them try," she said, her eyes blazing. "Get me Julian's last sermon tapes. There's a code in his chants." The drive to Baton Rouge was a tense sprint, Titan's barks punctuating the roar of the highway. The city's skyline glittered, a false promise of order, as Amara met Baton Rouge PD Captain Marcus Tate outside Vasseur's office tower. "Your canine's got a nose for trouble," Tate said, eyeing Titan. "Vasseur's on the top floor, but his guards are ex-mercs. We go in quiet." "Titan's quieter than you think," Amara said, stroking Canine's fur. The raid was surgical, elevators disabled, stairwells secured. Titan's barks led to a locked office, its door reinforced. Amara planted a breacher charge, the blast echoing, and Titan surged through, pinning a guard as Amara cuffed Vasseur, his tailored suit no shield against her glare. "You're finished, Michelle," she said, her Glock steady. "Your ledgers, your cult, every victim, every dollar. We have it all." Vasseur's smile was venom. "You think you've won, Dubois? The Loa don't kneel. Julien's the blade, I'm the hand. You'll never stop us." Titan's growls deepened, his nose locked on a safe behind Vasseur's desk. Amara cracked it, finding a master ledger. 30 victims, from Celeste in 1999 to Elise in 2025. Their lockets sketched beside dates and payments. A hard drive detailed $5 million in cult profits, funneled through Bayou Holdings to offshore accounts. A voodoo charm, identical to Amara's, lay inside, its bead stained with blood. "You cursed me," she said, her voice ice. "But I'm still here." Vasseur's arrest was a media storm, but Amara's focus was Blackwater Cove. Morales' team had lost Julien in the Bayou's maze, but Titan's barks traced his scent to a voodoo hideout, a shack ringed with skulls, its altar blazing with candles. Julien stood chanting, his eyes wild, a machete in hand. "The Loa demand you, Dubois," he screamed, lunging. Titan tackled him, teeth sinking into his arm, and Amara cuffed him, her radio crackling with Morales' voice. "We've got him." Julien's confession, recorded under floodlights, was a floodgate. Vasseur had bankrolled the cult, choosing victims to cleanse Crescent Hollow, while Julien sanctified the killings, twisting voodoo into terror. Town elites, mayor, sheriff, even a judge, had taken bribes to look away. "It was power," Julien spat. "Vasseur's vision, my faith." Back in Crescent Hollow, Amara faced a town divided. Vasseur's allies rallied, but Fontenot and Thomas testified, their shame bared in court. Titan's barks led to a final victim. Sophie Landry, 16, hidden in a ritual bunker beneath the church, rescued moments before a sacrifice. Sophie's tearful reunion with her family, guided by Titan's nose, shifted the tide, turning protesters into mourners. The trial was swift. Vasseur and Julien convicted of 30 murders, their sentences life without parole. The $5 million was seized, funding a victim's trust for restitution. Amara stood in the square, Titan at her side, as a vigil lit the night. Candles glowed for Celeste, Lena, Marie, Clara, Elise, Sophie, and others. Creole hymns rising over the bayou. Mama Lizette led a voodoo cleansing, her chant a prayer for peace. Titan, awarded a Canine medal, lay by Amara's feet, his bark silent, but his presence a shield. Amara touched the locket, now a keepsake, her voice soft. "We did it, Celeste. You're free." Closure was a fragile gift, but she embraced it, vowing to guard the bayou. At 2 a.m., the clock chimed, a final echo. Titan's barks pierced the quiet, leading Amara to the riverbank, where a child's bracelet glinted in the mud, engraved LM. Lily Moreau, missing since yesterday. The Reaper was gone, but the bayou whispered of new shadows, and Amara knew her fight wasn't over.